stripe and black-backed jackals share the same breeding season. And I just had a quick look at my mammals book because I actually wasn't sure on that, and it isn't. They don't. It's sort of overlaps, but not by very much. So typically the black-backed jackals will give birth to their pups now in the winter months, so in the dry season, whereas the side-striped jackals, it's a little bit later on in the year. Just as rainy season starts, they tend to give birth. So that's really interesting to know. But this is, of course, the side-striped jackal. And if you're wondering how I know that it's a side-striped jackal, they look old. To me, they look like they've been in the wash. The colors are faded with all that lovely grey hair covering their bodies. And the black-backed jackal has got a very, very black sort of back, as the name suggests. And if you're still a little bit unsure, it's hard when it's sitting down. But when the jackal stands up again, have a look at the side of its body and you will see a silver stripe going along its flanks. They're quite easy to tell the difference, especially if you put the two. The face is completely different as well. Now, Lauren, you're wondering if jackals are related to foxes. They look very much like a fox, don't you think? I suppose they must be near cousins somewhere along the line, but we don't have any foxes here in South Africa. I'm actually not sure of the genus or the family of a fox. That would be able to tell me if I don't have any foxes in any of my books that I have. So I'll have to have a look at that and then get back to you. But they're lovely creatures. They are so good to have around. They really are important, jackals, and I know a lot of people don't like them. But in a natural ecosystem, they're important for controlling rodent populations. They help again, they're scavengers, and they getting rid of all the carcasses that are around. They stop the spread of disease. So I love them, and I think that they are fantastic. Even frogs, they're one of the few animals that will actually go and devour frogs. And you've seen how we have these explosions of amphibians. It's not good. Everything is good in proportion. So when you do have an overpopulation, something like this, them and the mongoose can come in, even the birds, the snakes, and will control those things. So as soon as you lose one animal in a chain, it becomes a big problem, and there's a huge gap. And then you'll start seeing strange things happening. Now, Mom is moving away, Mom Warthog, and she's moving very, very sort of cautiously through that grass. But she has to keep an eye out. And unfortunately, warthogs don't have the greatest eyesight. Their hearing's all right. Their sense of smell is probably the best thing. But when you don't have the wind in your favor, I think it's quite easy to sneak up to a warthog. I've definitely snuck up to a warthog before, many times, without them even knowing I was there. But she is now using the luxury bathrooms. Maybe that's why she went into the long grass. She went in for a bit of privacy. The piglets don't mind so much. They just go wherever they like to go. Actually, all the animals go where they like to go. But it's very, very short grass. And they like it, of course. Warthog would love to eat the short grass. It's their favorite thing. But off they go. And there's a nice spot for them. It's open. There's the little pan. They can go and sit in the mud. It's not too deep. So it's nice. And then they've got the company of the jackals, of course. Now, David, you're wondering if warthogs are social animals. They are indeed. It's not uncommon to see a couple of sows together with their piglets. In this case, though, it's just Mom with her 4 little piglets. And but if she does meet up with somebody else, she'll probably hang around together. It's safety in numbers again, so it's in their benefit to join up, especially when you're such a small prey species. And the same thing goes with them. You often see warthogs around, not just other warthogs, but zebra, wildebeest, impala, jackals, crowned lapwings, the birds, all those types of things. I wonder if she's going to go for a wallow. Let's follow her. She's very relaxed. Even when we repositioned, I just wanted to see how sort of close we could get by sticking on the roads. And she didn't even turn her head and look at us once. She's not bothered at all. And again, I think when you're living on an airstrip, you become very complacent out here because you've got aeroplanes, you've got cars driving up and down. There's a lot of noise and a lot of chaos that often happens around an airstrip. So you become very relaxed. So I think a little car like this and the sound of my voice doesn't do much to bother her at all. Go to the water. Please go to the water. Or little piglets, have a little play around. Let's stop. I just don't want to push them, so I'll just park a little bit away. They're edging closer, but she's being cautious. There we go. Maybe, I think I've got to go a little bit further. There we go. That's nice. Ah, warthog reflection shots. Lovely. Oh, what a wonderful morning. Yes, little piggies, in you go. Oh, this is cool. They're all starting to go into the water now. I think they're just going to have a drink, but let's see who's brave enough to wade waist deep into that water. But did you see the way she approached? Not racing towards the water. There could be a crocodile, there could be a lion, a leopard, a hyena, a cheetah, anything. Just waiting on the other side of the bank or hiding behind some of those shrubs. She was just taking it easy. Little one stayed behind, obviously waiting for the safe call to say that it's all right to come over and have a little sip of water. Isn't that lovely? Little one's not too interested in drinking just yet, but they don't have to just drink water. They ask, well, I'm pretty sure they'll still be suckling from mom. Normally a couple of months that they'll suckle for. And they'll get a lot of water from that, and also from the grass that they're eating, especially first thing in the morning when it's covered in dew. Oh, wonderful. It seems as though Tristan has managed to find Shadow once again. Let's go and have another look.
We have indeed. So luckily for us, she turned south and she's come onto Arathusa, which means that we can follow her and see where she goes. Now I'm hoping that she's going to lead us towards her little one. Wouldn't that be incredible to see the little one again? And then in the sky you would be able to see her and we'd be able to then see if they're safe. Now that's what I'm hoping for. Although she seems to be getting sidetracked with everything, and she keeps stopping and looking into the distance and, you know, tail twitching. So I think she's looking for food more than anything else, but I would imagine that her cub is somewhere in this area. This is the area that she's been spending so much time recently, and her tracks are up and down all over this part of the world. So I'm wondering if this is not where the cubs could roughly be, and while she's on her way back towards them, she's going to watch and see if there's any sign of anything. Now I wonder if there's maybe something in front of her here that she's seen. I'm going to just pull up slowly, just see if maybe there is an impala or something in the bush ahead of her that she can see without disturbing her. I don't want to disturb her in any way. What can you see, girl? Now, I honestly can't see what she can see, but maybe there's a little drainage line just down from us where we are now, and it would be a great place for things like a duiker to spend time, or nyala, bushbuck. They would all occupy that terrain, so maybe that's what she's seen. You can see the tail is twitching a lot, and she looks very interested in whatever it is that she may have found. Look at how alert her ears are, focused forward, trying to pick up any sound that could be coming from that area, staring into that drainage line. And I reckon if it's my hat to sort of hedge my bet, I'm going to go with the duiker. That's what it is that she's spotted, but I'm not sure. I can't say 100%, but I think that's what it is. Isn't that beautiful? This little white tail wagging out of the shadows. Very, very pretty. Now, I suppose we're working our way through the lineage to get back towards where Karula is, so hopefully this will be all good signs that Karula will show up soon. We've had Shadow, we've had Shongile, so hopefully now the next one will be Karula. I did have tracks for a female leopard coming east from that large torchwood, which could be Shadow. She does walk in that area, but I did have them, and I'm not 100% sure who it could be, so I might go back into that area this afternoon and try and just check where they go. If they turn back towards where we found Shadow, then we know that those are for her, but it could be that maybe Karula's also around as well. It was for an adult female, so it's encouraging. But look at her ears. Her ears are starting to get a little bit tatty now. She's starting to show her age. A couple nicks and cuts out of those ears these days. And it's been a hard life for Shadow. She's had a tough time of it. She's had lots of issues with her cubs. She's really struggled to raise litters of cubs, so lots of sort of fighting with male leopards to protect them, and hyenas and lions, and so she's had a really tough time of it. But she's still soldiering on and still trying. I really, really hope that this cub is still alive and that she manages, and that she's able to raise his cub to maturity, and we actually see a mature cub coming out. Look at her leopard crawling. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? So Miss Sky, you were saying that she's a 3-4 spot pattern. And look at how she's trying to get into the grass so that she can hide. So she's got those collarbones that are different to other animals in that they're almost a floating collarbone. And it allows her to duck very low and be able to basically effectively leopard crawl her way along. Now, we're really going to struggle to keep up with her in here. It's not friendly at all. And it's not a place that we're going to be able to really follow very easily, but we shall try and persevere and see what we can do. Well, I've already lost her, to be honest. Let's see, I don't think she would have gone far. She's going to use all this brush to her advantage. So instead of being in a situation where she's out on the road and very exposed, she's going to get into thicket like this, where she can then hide and be able to stalk up close to whatever she's hunting. Now I'm trying to scan for her. It's amazing how quickly this cat disappears. I don't know what she does. It's almost like she runs and dives into thickets. But this would be another time that she's given us a slip if we have indeed. Do you see any sign of her, Ferg?
Nothing from us, yeah.
So I believe all of you are very excited that you've managed to see Shadow, and so am I. I really always love spending time with her, except that she's so difficult to keep up with. I don't know where she's gone now. And it wasn't like we were very long behind her. The problem is in this grass, they just disappear. It's so difficult to actually see anything in this grass. No, I lost her completely, but I don't think she could have come this far already, unless she's really striding. I just want to go back and check. There's a little thicket here that's got long grass that looks very leopard-like, and where it would be a good place for her to have spent time. So let's just try and check that area again. So Billy, you're wondering if leopards are spotted under their fur, so on their skin itself. No, they're not. It's just the fur that is spotted. The skin itself is a uniform coloration and pattern, much like ours is. Now, I think this is where she would have gone, is into this thicket. Now, she's a small little cat, so for her it's going to be quite easy to hide in this grass, and now we've got to kind of keep our wits about us and see where she could have gone to, because she came straight through on this left-hand side here and then disappeared. I don't know where she went from here. But like I say, typical Shadow. I know James had the exact same thing the other day. He was following her and she went off into the bush and absolutely disappeared in 2 minutes. I had the same thing also with her a few weeks ago. So she really is, once she gets into the grass, she knows that she can camouflage super well. And she's probably just sitting watching us, waiting for us to kind of move off, and then she'll stand up and start moving again. The problem is that if she is moving, the longer that we're away from where she is, the further she gets, the harder it becomes to actually find her. So hopefully we can find her here quite shortly. Oof. No, I don't see anything. I thought maybe underneath this log. Right, so while we look around for this very elusive girl, let's head across to Byron, who I believe has got some tracks, and maybe we'll have some luck of our own while we're with him.
So I do indeed have tracks. We came into an area where they had tracks this morning. Of a female leopard, and but I had a feeling it was possibly Shadow, and by the looks of things we've just come to double check, and it was indeed Shadow, who I think moved through this area. She headed north and then cut back west to where they found her earlier. So, but it's always worth just having a look, so that's what we came to look for. Now, Samantha, speaking about tracks, you wanted to know, do I think animals can follow tracks? Well, Samantha, I think they're actually better than that. They'll follow scent. So the tracks themselves will leave a scent mark. Lions, leopards, they often leave scent marks with their tracks, because when they mark their territory, they'll often scratch the ground and they urinate and they stand in their urine. So they will leave scent marks. So it's not a case of the animals actually seeing the tracks and tracking. It's a case of them picking up the scent of the animal that walked through there. It could be anything. It could be antelope species that walk through. It could be elephant. Elephant will pick up the scent of other elephant. So it's more the scent than actually tracking. Now, speaking of elephant, I've actually got some nice fresh elephant tracks here too. I'll have a look. This is a beautiful clear track. You can see not a big elephant, possibly a female. It looks like this was a herd. There are a lot of little tracks around, but it's such a clear track. It's wonderful to see. Now you can have a look at the back of the track here. It's a lot smoother. You see it's been flattened quite a bit, a lot smoother. Then over here you've got a lot of wrinkles under the foot of the elephant, and you can see that very clearly in the sand. And then over here is a little clue as to which direction the elephant walked. You see that little indentation? So this elephant walked in that direction. Now, they always plant their foot. It's a lot smoother at the back of the track. And then as they walk, they kick up a little sand. And that's the easiest way to tell which direction they walked. So that elephant, or this herd, have headed in this direction. We'll see if we can find them. I can hear oxpeckers though. Hold on, let's see. Oxpecker is always a good sign that the animal's around. It could be buffalo, it could be an antelope, it could be giraffe. The bush is so thick at the moment, I can't see anything. I can just hear the oxpeckers flying over us. So when we are walking around, we do have to look and be very, very aware, and often listen first before we do find anything. I just heard an elephant, it sounded like, in the distance. So Rebecca, I didn't copy that question. If you could just send me that again, please. No, I'm not scared, Rebecca. I'm very brave. I'm starting to eat some grass. So I can think like an elephant, try channel elephant and see where they have gone. Maybe eating some grass or chewing on some grass can help me. Lanya asked, do we see snakes often while we're walking? Not often, Lanya. They usually get out the way. They pick up on our vibrations and they move out of the way very quickly. But yes, I have seen snakes on a walk before, but not that often, not that often at all. Let's see if I can spot some of those elephants. Nice clearing here. Let's just scan this area a little bit. Follow me. It's actually a beautiful view from up here. This is a wonderful part of Djuma that we're on at the moment. Not far from that very prominent green thorn, or the balanites, the torchwood. That very prominent one that's or on Djuma. We have a road named after it too. I'm just scanning the bush, checking on top of termite mounds. I can see it's probably a bit too far. Looks like a brown snake eagle on a tree, but very, very far away. It helps that I've got binoculars, and I think that would be my tip of the day. Actually, I've given it before, but I know on a previous trip I have given this tip before, but I think it is an important one, and while we are walking I think it's very appropriate. Always try and take a pair of binoculars with you when you're on safari, because often, especially when you're birding, or if you see something in the distance, or if you see something you can't get close to, your guide might not be able to get close to it, a pair of binoculars is crucial. Very, very crucial. And it can help you. It can help you to spot animals too. So always make sure you've got a pair of binoculars with you when you do come on safari. Vital, absolutely vital. All right, I think let's head back to Taylor and get an update from her and see what her plans are for the rest of the morning.
So we've left Arathusa now, and we're back on Djuma. And while I was racing towards to try and get a quick sight of those lions earlier on, I did pass some male leopard tracks. So I think what we'll do is we'll probably go into the area. Hang on, before we even do that, where did these elephants come from and where did they go? That sounds like a song. Do you know which song I'm talking about? No, I can't do it. Rebecca, you'll know it's that country song. What's it? One-Eyed Joe? Is that it? I've got that song in my head now and I don't know why. Right, let's find these elephants on the way. No, actually they look like they've gone across the road and down into the drainage system towards Rebecca's, so we might not have too much luck on them. We're gonna basically start making our way down to the eastern corner of Vuatela and have a look around there and see if we can pick up and figure out who's left those footprints behind. But I don't know I didn't really get a good look. I literally just saw a couple of tracks, looked like they'd come from Buffelshoek and it looked like they jumped onto Cheetah cut line. We'll have to see if it is Tingana. Most likely he would have gone into Torchwood, or he's been in Torchwood as of yesterday. Maybe Djuma, he's in that corner. So I'm not certain as to whose footprints they are, but we'll go have a proper look and figure it out together. Elephants, where are you? The tracks are so fresh too. I don't understand that, Rebecca. Why am I so looking? Oh, I'm confused. I'm very confused. White lady, I didn't get the last part of the name there. You've said that I mustn't forget to look into the tops of the marula trees for the leopards. Maybe. I don't know where my sense of humor has gone today, though. I've lost it, Rebecca. It's gone. I think I need to do a very quick brain reset, just so that I can try and catch on what's going on at the moment. I'm completely lost and confused. But Tristan is not lost and confused because he's managed to stick with Shadow.
Well, I don't know about lost and confused, but I'm certainly having struggles with reversing today. But luckily we did find Shadow again. She was trying to hunt some kudu. She was being very ambitious because it was a big male kudu. It wasn't even a female kudu. So there was no way she was going to get that right, but that didn't work, and then she came back onto the road for us. And now we're just slowly edging down the road with her, and she's on her little territorial patrol, and she's walking straight towards us, which is absolutely fantastic. It's what I was hoping for. It's so much nicer to see her face than her backside. Not that she doesn't have a nice tail, but her face is much better to look at. Now, Miss Sky, you were saying earlier an IDing feature is the 3-2 spot pattern above her whiskers. So there we go. That's how we can recognize her, other than just the way that she looks. The 3-2 spot pattern over her whiskers. Now, she's still moving straight towards us, which is great. White Lady Owen, you're wondering how old is Shadow? Well, Shadow should be now about, I would say, she must be just about 9 years old. No, maybe a little bit older, 10 by now. Because Karula had her when she was just over 2.5 years old, and Karula is now 13, so 10 and a half. That's about how old Shadow is now. So she's also getting to the older side of her life. She's still in her prime, but generally female leopards, once they reach about 12, they start then moving down. Well, now she's going to the loo. Isn't that beautiful amongst the green grasses that are growing on either side of the road? Really, really pretty. It's a nice thing about when we've had summer and you get all these long grasses, and especially now because the grasses are starting to go a bit white in color, so it really is quite pretty when there's these leopards moving through it. You can see she's just still coming down. I wonder where she's going. Normally from here her route would be towards Red Dam. That's where she likes to spend a lot of time, so she's going in that way, and I wonder if that's not where the cub is. The last time I saw tracks was around that area, so I'm hoping that she's going to lead us to the cubs. We're going to keep just following her just to make sure and see if we get lucky and she does take us to the cub, should I say, not cubs. I think there's only one left at this stage. Now I'm hoping she hasn't lost the other one, because that would just be very unpleasant, and I feel so bad for her whenever she loses these cubs. It must be such a traumatic experience. So kittens are cute. You're saying, oh my word, she's so beautiful. She is a pretty cat. I think that her sister might be prettier, but she is a pretty cat as well. I do like her, so I'm just going to try and get a little bit further down the road, because we're quite close to where she is now, so I know we're going to lose visual of her around the corner, but I just don't want to be right up in her face while we're reversing, because maybe then she's going to go off the road. And on either side of this area is very dense, thick bush, so I want to try and kind of keep as much distance as I can. And it's a nice thing about having cameras with big zooms, is that you can be quite far away and it still feels like we're right there with her, which is great. But isn't that grass in the background absolutely beautiful? So that chloris grass, it's all catching the light. Spectacular scenery following these cats around at the moment. It's really good, especially when they're on the roads. As soon as they go off the road, then it's not so spectacular. Then you seem to have a hate relationship with the grass. But when you are following a cat like this, it is most definitely a love relationship when the grass is all illuminated in the background. But wherever she's going with great purpose. You can see she's not moving slowly. We've covered quite a bit of ground already, so she's definitely on a mission to get somewhere, and she wants to be in a certain area, so hopefully all will be revealed in time as we follow her along. So I just got to watch where I'm driving as well, because I don't want to reverse myself and Ferg into a buffalo thorn again. I've done that once already this morning. Well, more myself than anybody else, but there we go. So she's now still coming down the road. You see, every now and then she'll stop and just listen and look around. She's obviously still looking for any opportunity to hunt, even though she's ultimately missed opportunities and it's starting to get a little bit late in the day and getting warm. Still, given that she's a leopard will take any opportunity it can. So whether that's the middle of the day, end of the day, they really don't mind. They'll just go after anything at any time. So she's still looking around, still being very aware of her environment, making sure that if there is any opportunity to hunt a prey item, that she takes the chance and tries to do it. So it means that she is hungry, and if she does still have a cub, that cub suckling from her is going to be absorbing so much nutrients. Clara, you're saying if she was really, really desperate and hungry, would she potentially attack a human? Well, yes, she could potentially attack a human. These are wild big cats, and it has happened before. But generally we find that fatalities in humans when it comes to big cats is normally either because of an animal that is injured or an animal that is very old and weak, and it's the last resort for that animal to try and go after a human. They try and avoid it as much as possible. They know humans are dangerous, and that's why they try and avoid it. But yes, if she was desperate, then she might try, and it would be a very big problem then. I don't think she would ever try from a vehicle side of things. The noise of the vehicle and the size of the vehicle is intimidating, but a person on foot, most definitely, if she was just ambling down the road, and especially at night, and she came across a person and she was very hungry, then it's very possible that she could then maybe go after a person. So you've got to always be a little bit careful with the big cats and make sure that you read their warning signs and just watch their behavior. You know, if you see her tail starting to flick and her growling and hissing, then generally it's a sign that she's irritated and then could potentially be aggressive with you. Sorry, my girl, let me get out your way. So the road is going to do a big S-bend now. So sometimes she cuts off here, there we go, and she'll go across. There's a little small drainage line that she goes across to. There's some mud wallows, and then from there she'll do a diagonal straight to Red Dam. So that's where we're going to go now. Now it is very difficult to get across this little riverbed, so what I'm going to try to do is I will try stay with her as long as possible on this side, and then we might have to just jump around and see if we can find her on the other side. But this is typical Shadow. The amount of times I've tracked her on this route that we're going right now, I can sure many times that I've done this exact same path that we're doing now. And she was very kind to us. She let us follow in front of her for quite a long way, so very happy that we managed to do that. It was, like I say, so nice to get the front side of her and not just the back all the time. And she's moving as quick as she is now. You often then all you do is just get the back side. So it's nice that she is moving. I wonder, like I say, where she's going and what her plan is. Hoping, just really hoping that she's going to go towards Red Dam. She's going to go into that drainage line at Red Dam and she's going to start contact calling. That's what my hope is. If that happens, I will be so excited. I haven't seen this current set of cubs yet, so I'm really hoping that I do get to see them soon, or cub should I say. Right, I think what we're going to do is just try and get around while we've got the chance, while she's stationary, because I can see from the other side there. It's going to be very difficult to get through here, I think. Let's try though. The problem is this area, it gets very wet, and so no, we're not going to be able to get through there. Right, we're going to quickly just get around this riverbed and try and get onto the other side before she disappears. And while we do that, let's go across to Byron and see what he's up to on his walk and whether or not he's starting to head back for his eggs and bacon yet. We all know Byron loves a bit of eggs and bacon, so I'm sure he's starting to make his way back.
Don't judge me, Tristan. I know you like it too. Yes, we will start heading back fairly soon. But we're still in search of these elephant. There are a lot of tracks along the road, and there's been some fresh dung. I think they've moved off just further south of us. I'm going to see if we can find them. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet. I mean, we're still covered in flies. There are flies everywhere. A little guarri branch. Let's see if I can get a good one. There we go. Now, some of you might be thinking, why on earth would I get a guarri branch? Well, this is a great fly swatter. So I can walk around now and keep the flies off of me. So I think that's exactly what I'll do. Now hang on, there are oxpeckers again. Now it's not a concern, but it is slightly worrying when you're walking and you can hear oxpeckers. You know there are animals there, but I can't see them. So I don't know what it is. There were a lot of buffalo tracks around here earlier. So I don't want to particularly bump into a buffalo. I tell you what, why don't you follow me over here? Let's go up here. There's a nice termite mound. What is that? That's what it is. It's impala. You see that? That's what the oxpeckers are sitting on. See, as I was saying earlier, often when you hear the oxpeckers, you know there are animals around it, but it could be anything. It could be antelope, it could be buffalo, it could be rhino, it could be giraffe, but there's always, golden rule is if you hear those oxpeckers close by, just take a moment and scan and have a look around to see what there is. I'm sure you will find something. So I was actually about to head to this termite mound. Okay, so Rebecca, we'll use that as tip of the day because I used the binocular one before. So tip of the day, when you're walking in the bush and you hear oxpeckers, always stop, listen, and look out. Look around, because the chances are there are animals close by to you. So even if you can't see them, try and change your angle, change your direction. And what I was going to do was head over to this termite mound and stand up there and have a look around. It gives me a bit of a vantage point, but there's no need for that. I've spotted those impala already. Now the oxpecker sound, I'll have to play it for you. I can't do it. No, I can't do it. Yeah. No, it's actually nothing like that. I can't do it. I can't do an oxpecker sound. But it's like a bit of a scratchy shriek, if I can. What I will do is later, when I have my app with me, I'll play the bird call for you, so you can hear what an oxpecker sounds like. But it is a very important bird out here, and you do hear them quite regularly. Sometimes you'll just see them in trees. They do nest in trees, some dead trees, but then you'll see them probably sitting. But if they're flying over, or if you hear them in the bush, then there's definitely animals around. And speaking of the animals, there's some nice tracks. I just want to show you one quickly of the animals that I've been speaking about. The buffalo. Well, there are buffalo tracks here. Let's see. I just want to find a nice clear one to show you. No. Oh, now that I've spotted them, I can see partial tracks, but no clear buffalo tracks. But there have been a lot of buffalo that have moved through this area. Just having a look. Let's see. There should be one around here. Looked like they also headed kind of in a southerly direction, so they could still be close. No, unfortunately, I think they've just actually crossed off. That just saw half a track, but you could see buffalo track, a beautiful big hoofed animal, big tracks, very round tracks, so you should be able to see them quite easily. No fresh or no tracks around here now. Now, I think what you should do is stick with us for a while, because you never know. Things pop out all the time while we're on bushwalk. Like, there's a beautiful butterfly. I don't know if you'd be able to see it. Off it goes. Tristan is trying to navigate his way through the thick bush. The leopard has got the better of him, I think, led him into a very thick area. And we all know Tristan's driving isn't very good. I'm just joking, but it's not always easy to drive through thick areas like that when you are following leopards, especially now, especially this time of the year, because the bush is so thick. And the problem is, when you are driving, you can't see the big branches that are stuck in the grass, so you've got to be so careful. I'm just having a look around here. Some more sign of elephant. You see how this tree has been broken off over here. Look at that. They've stripped the bark off. They've been feeding on these trees, probably feeding on some of the branches. This isn't particularly fresh, but look at the beautiful color, this yellow, golden yellow color of this branch. And this is a terminalia, a silver cluster leaf. That's what the elephant have stripped off here. And broken off, but yeah, not very fresh at all. But incredible to see that beautiful color, the silver cluster leaf. Now we know that the silver cluster leaf is an indicator species. So what that means is it will indicate certain types of terrain or soil structures, and what the silver cluster leaf indicates is a seep line. So what happens is you have, it's called a katina, basically, and it takes a lot of explaining, but I'll try and make it simple for you. What happens is you have the crest area or the high-lying area, and we've walked downhill into this place where we are at the moment. And from that crest area, what happens is that when it rains, the water and the nutrients start flowing down, and then it reaches a point where the water is then basically it comes towards a drainage line, but it can resurface in a certain area, and when the water resurfaces, that's called a seep line. And these trees, the silver cluster leaves, love growing along the seep lines, but you've got to be so careful. In summer, if you drive in those areas, often people get bogged down because the soil is so muddy. So you've got to be very, very careful when driving through areas. If you see these silver cluster leaves in summer after rain, avoid those areas, try and drive around them, because it will be muddy and you may get bogged down. Now, Tristan has managed to get through the thick bush, and he's managed to stay with the leopard. Let's go see what Shadow is up to.
We have indeed. So it's been very dense on the little drainage line, and it was quite something to get through there. There's lots of leaves all over us and all over the bonnet, but it's the price we pay to keep up with Shadow. So luckily we still have her and we're still going, which is great news. And she's still moving southwards. I'm hoping that she's going to keep going or not. That's it. Maybe she's decided that's where she wants to lie for now. So, Laura Moore, you're asking me if she headed towards water. Well, when we got to that drainage line, it looks like she had a little drink in the drainage line. She might not have. I couldn't see nicely. It was lots of reeds, but maybe she had a drink there. But otherwise, yes, she's heading towards two big mud wallows that are going to be off on our right-hand side. And then there's a big dam not too far from here called Red Dam on Arathusa. So she could be heading to either of those. But generally at this time of the year, when there's lots of little puddles around, the leopards like to drink out of those more. They know it's safer. They know there's no threat of crocodiles in a small little mud wallow as opposed to those bigger dams. So you find they only really drink at those bigger dams in the winter months. Generally in summer they find small areas or puddles or riverbeds where they can go and find water there. Looks like maybe she's decided it's time for a rest. She's decided we've been following and walking too much this morning. Now time just to get that coat nice and groomed. And isn't she beautiful now that she's lying down? You can see she's very agile as well. She's able to bend her neck in all kinds of ways to be able to groom herself. Oh, a bit of hair stuck in the throat and the tongue. So you'll find with that rough tongue that sometimes hair gets caught in it and then they have to try and kind of get rid of it, and they pull the funniest faces trying to get rid of those fur, sort of, I suppose fur ball is the right word for it, that get caught up in amongst the teeth and the tongue. Very, very funny to watch. So, consulting detective, you're saying that she looks like she has very little paws. Well, I can tell you that those paws, while they do look small, are not that small at all. If I had to put my hand there, or my arm, they would probably be about this. Her forearm would be the same thickness as my forearm, and those front paws are quite large. It just looks like that because we're comparing her to things like Tingana. Tingana's a big boy, so he's got massive paws in comparison. So she is a small cat, but her paws are still quite big and more than powerful enough to deal with anything that she needs to deal with in terms of being an adult female. Like I said, I've seen her sister Tundi, who's a similar size, bring down a fully grown female kudu, so those paws are more than powerful enough. So Beth, we're talking about male and females, and you're wondering about the tracks and how we tell the difference. Well, a female leopard tends to have very much smaller feet than what the male does. So as I was saying, if we compare it to somebody like Tingana, his feet are very large, so if he puts a track down, immediately you know it's just far too big for a female, so it's much, much larger. If we're looking at young males and a adult female, then sometimes they can be of the same sort of length, but a male tends to have a much rounder appearance to his front foot, whereas a female's is more sort of oval shape to her foot. And then also on the back pads, the female's has a very angular back section of her pad, whereas a male has a very rounded back section to his pad. So it's a very different track. And like I say, the female's tracks are a lot more slender, a lot more elongated, whereas the males tend to be rounder, bigger. And once you see the two of them next to one another, you can actually see the difference quite clearly. But it's quite hard to show you that scale of size other than if we use maybe my finger or something like that. And I'll try see if I can find a female track and then a male track at some stage and then show you. So if you keep watching, Beth, then I will definitely try and show you physically the differences between the two. I don't know if I've actually got my tracking book with me, and then I can actually even show you in a book. Hold on, let me have a look. I think I put my tracking book in the other day. I just need to see if I did. So the nice thing about my tracking book is that it's got all the different tracks for all the animals and how you can tell them apart, but I don't know if I put it in. Hold on, it might be at the back here. So I've got a big box of books that I carry around with me these days, which is quite nice because it's waterproof, so I can take all my books with me, which makes me very happy. Sorry for all the rattling, I do apologize because that's me playing around trying to get to all my books. It's in, like I say, a plastic box so that I don't get the books wet, because all my books are so damaged by water that I've tried to now set up a system where I don't have to worry too much. But I don't think I've got my tracking book with me, which is very sad. What's this? Okay, I don't have my book with me, but I've got a little diagram, but I don't think it's going to have male and female. No, it doesn't. Let me just check one other book quickly and see if I've maybe got them here. Sorry guys, I'm sorry for all the cluttering and making of noise and me not being able to find the book that I'm looking for and the tracks that I'm looking for. I was hoping that maybe another book will just have a summary of them, but it doesn't seem to be the case. No, I unfortunately don't have the difference between male and female with me. I shall bring it this afternoon. I'll check it home to see if I've got it, and then I'll bring it out this afternoon so that I can show all of you, so that we can see the differences quite clearly in a book. But unfortunately not with me now. Very sad, very, very sad indeed. So sorry about that, Beth. Like I say, this afternoon I shall definitely have it out, and I will show you this afternoon, and then we can go through the difference between the two, and it will be much easier for you to see and understand what I'm talking about, because even on the roads, if I find a male and female track, which is not that common to find them side by side, but if I did, it's also sometimes quite obscured, so it's not much nicer to look into a book. So I will definitely try and find that this afternoon for you. Meanwhile, Shadow is still regally taking it easy, grooming. She's not interested in our tracking talk too much, and has decided that this is where she's going to have a little grooming session. So HKP, this is an interesting question, because you're asking whether leopards in Asia are smaller than those in Africa. Well, it's difficult because I haven't seen leopards in all parts of Asia, but from just talking to some of the friends that I've had that have spent time there, and talking to some guys that we had recently that visited us from Sri Lanka, we discussed weights and sizes of leopard, and it seems like in the sort of savanna areas of Asia, so in Sri Lanka, in Yala National Park, and in India, in Djuma, the male leopards tend to seem to be the same size, so they tend to weigh very similar to what ours do. So they are then very big, because the savanna leopards here in Africa are known to be some of the biggest because of the amount of food that they're able to find and the large size of the food that they get. So they get a lot of protein when they're young, and therefore they grow much bigger than the leopards in the mountains and in the desert areas. Oh, I think she just got bitten by a biting fly. That's why she jumped. Hello, girl. So to answer your question, I would imagine that, actually no, they're very similar. It just depends on the environment more than anything else. So even here in Africa, we've got a huge disparity between sizes. So if you go into the Cape leopards, which are in the Otaniqua Mountains, those males there will be the size of Shadow. So very small compared to... So Penny, you were actually asking about these Cape leopards, but the males will be the size of Shadow. They'll weigh 40 kilograms, whereas our male leopards out here are weighing 90 to 100, so much bigger up here. And the females there are light. They're between 18 and 25 kilograms, whereas our females here are sort of between 35 and 50. So it's a very big difference between those mountainous leopards and these savanna leopards, and I would imagine the same rings true for Asia. It depends on where they're found, what the availability of food is, and how, and the areas that they traverse, because mountain leopards can't be big bulky animals like these are. They also have very limited prey in comparison to what these leopards do. They'll be feeding off little rock hyrax, shrews, mice, birds. There's no big impalas and kudus and bushbuck and deka all in those areas, so their food items are much smaller, and you'll find that they'll probably hunt more frequently, but just smaller items, whereas our leopards here have the luxury of feeding off big carcasses. And I would imagine, like I said, that the same rings true in Asia, where in Yala National Park or in Djuma, they have quite large animals that they can go after, so a lot of deer that they can hunt, and that will mean that they then get the size much like what we see here. And there we go, grooming is done, time to carry on. She's satisfied that she's gotten rid of whatever was bugging her on her coat, and we're now back on the move. So I'm really hoping that she's going to take us to answer the mystery as to whether these cubs are still around, how many there are, because no one's been able to check. Like I say, the track that I found looks like only for one, so I'm hoping, really hoping, that there is two and that I've just missed a track. But if there is one, it would be nice just to see how it's doing and see how it's developing, and see what kind of character it is at the end of the day. Also, if it's a relaxed animal, if it's going to be still very shy. It'd be nice to see what eyes it's got. You know, now the eyes should be starting to change from the sapphire blue when they're born into the sort of browns and yellows that we see. But look at that. Look at how she just disappears through that grass. So if you had to drive past now, imagine trying to spot that. There she goes. You see her ears there in the distance? But it just shows you why it's so tough for us at the moment when it comes to tracking and being able to follow these animals through these thickets. And we'll just keep up with her now. As I was saying to you earlier, from here she just cuts straight diagonally towards Red Dam. So Red Dam is really not far from us at all now, and I'm sure that's where she's heading. The thing is that there is a little drainage section between us and where she is, and if she goes in there, it's where she's used a den many times, and so I'm hoping that's where she's going to go. Now, we're going to try to keep up with her. It's going to be quite thick and quite difficult, so while we do that, let's go across to Taylor and see what she's up to.
We've been driving about, now we're on a very bumpy road, we have to take it easy here. So we quickly went past those leopard tracks, but it seems as though there was a big tractor that has started its day's work, and we managed to find just a couple of the footprints, but unfortunately they carry on going east along the cut line, sort of past Vuyatela towards sort of Torchwood, in between Torchwood and Buffelshoek, which is a bit of a pity, but they look like monster leopard tracks. I can only presume then that there will be Mvula's tracks, because from what Rex has said, from Herbie and from the rest of the team, is that Mvula has got massive footprints. So it looked much bigger than Tingana's tracks. I'm just guessing, of course. It could be Djuma. I don't know him very well. I've only seen him from a distance. But now we're on our way towards Buffelshoek Dam to have a little look around here. I have a feeling that there are going to be 2 hippos here, seeing as though they've been here for the last couple of weeks. Well, there were 3 at one point. But we'll see if they're still around. Maybe some elephants. Not one elephant yet this morning. Struggling. All the dung, all the tracks. Now, Justine, you're wondering, in the summer months, does it become difficult for crocodiles to find prey? No, not necessarily. See, crocodiles don't have to eat all the time. They will catch some if there's an opportunity, just like lions do. And they'll eat and eat as much as they need to eat. But if they can get one really good meal, that sort of sets them off. So they're mainly feeding on fish most of the time. From what I've seen in Zambia, those crocodiles are always catching tilapia. Seen them eating catfish too, the crocodiles. And they will, of course, catch an unsuspecting impala. If there's any animals that have died, I think the crocodiles are dry, just the buffalo and horses. Right, we'll finish this conversation when we're at the dam. Let's go across to Byron and see if he's found any more creepy crawlies.
So while Taylor heads to the dam, I've also had a similar idea of checking little water holes and mud wallows, just to see if there isn't some animal activity. No luck just yet, but it is actually still quite cool. If you have a look, it's still very overcast behind me. So maybe that's why the animals haven't headed down to the water just yet, or down to the mud wallows. Buffalo and that probably still moving around feeding. We've seen signs of elephant everywhere. There's fresh dung, but still no luck in finding them. It's amazing how these big grey animals can just disappear. I'm trying to see if we can't find anything else. Any other small little creatures. And I find it fascinating, at night, I often spot these little scorpions in trees and that. Just like this. This is actually quite nice here. Just speaking about the elephant sign. But firstly, we do spot scorpions in trees. You see them sticking out, but during the day you don't see any of them. They do rest during the day and they sleep in the holes. But have a look at the mud that's been rubbed up against this tree. So we have passed some mud wallows. You can see there have been some animals moving through there. An elephant or one of them, they splash themselves full of mud, and then they come and they find these prominent rubbing posts and they rub up against it. This is a beautiful tree for them to rub up against. It's a leadwood, Not a very big one, but you can see how they've rubbed up against her. But this looks like it's been a smaller elephant. It's only about this tall. Well, that's where the mark goes up to. However, this definitely has been rubbed by a larger elephant a while ago, because it's smoother. The tree's smoother. Let me use my branch to show you. Right up to there. Look at that. So the shoulder height of an elephant, probably a big male. Right up to there, I can see they've scraped and rubbed up against her all the way down. So this was more recent. This is covered in mud, and this is an older scrape mark or scratch mark against the tree. But that's a big elephant. That's a very big elephant. So again, the signs are here. We just need to find these animals. The grass is so long and thick at the moment. I mean, even if an elephant had to lie down in this grass, I doubt we'd be able to find it. Just like we saw those elephants lying down and sleeping yesterday morning. That was really great. I thought I heard some oxpeckers again ahead, but I don't see any just yet. We saw one or two monkeys briefly up in the trees behind me. There's some acacia trees there, and there were one or two vervet monkeys sitting up there, but they moved off once they saw us. And so it's always nice having a look around and seeing monkeys, because monkeys will alarm call and alert you if there are any predators in the area, like lions or leopards. Now, Tristan's with shadow. I wonder if we could sing a song about that. Moon shadow, Moon shadow. But Tristan's still with her, I think. Let's go and see what they're up to.
So we still are with Shadow. She's moving through these thickets, and she's right at this drainage line where I thought she would be. So just trying to see whether she's coming towards the road now, or if she's going to just cut in back into this area. So I'm not quite sure if she's going to pop out onto the road or back towards this termite mound. So I might just go in on the termite mound here. She was heading straight towards this area, and maybe she's got her little ones in this mound. Let's have a look here. The last time I saw her was walking straight in this direction. Now, Ferg had the last sort of visual of her, and he said to me that she was walking right here. So I'm sure she's going to pop out in front of me. I'm hoping. She was over here somewhere to my right. Like I say, slowly walking in this direction. So this is exactly where I thought maybe she would come. Alright, so we're going to just try to see if we can find her in this dense thicket. And while we do, let's go across to Taylor, who I think is in some deep water, rather.
Tristan, I'm very impressed with your off-roading skills. Well done. Look at these two hippos. It's our two friends that we see we've actually almost been seeing them every single day now for the last few weeks. They're quite lovely. Still a little bit on the shy side. But I think that they're getting ready to sleep for the rest of the day, because that hippo that's just gone under now, she doesn't look like she's interested in doing too much at all. She was closing her eyes, and even at one point she was relaxing her ears, which was quite cool to see. She didn't have them all perked up. She had them sort of flopped down to the side. And even as she rests her head on the back of the other hippo, her eyes and her nostrils are sticking out, but no ears. Those ears are tired, those ears are weary, they are ready to go to sleep, and I think that's what she's feeling right now. And as you know, that hippos sort of bob up and down, and will just sleep like that. They'll just constantly go up and down. Isn't that cool though? But this water has become quite putrid. It's actually really, really terrible. It's not looking so good. Now, before I forgot, Justine, you were asking about crocodiles in summer. Now, this would be a good dam now for all crocs. There's lots of banks for them to lay on. I'm surprised we haven't seen Boris taking up residence here, or perhaps a younger crocodile. There's no crocodiles that we've seen moving in here. So, no, I don't think that they struggle to hunt. They're very much opportunistic feeders. They don't necessarily plan hunts like lions and leopards do. They sort of just sit and wait into the water and wait for an opportunity to present itself. So, and that can be in, of course, many different forms. That could be a carcass. It could be an animal getting too close to the water's edge, and then they sneak up to the prey by swimming under the water, pretending they're a log, edging their way closer and closer to the surface. But they don't have to eat all the time, obviously. And if they can catch a fish here and now, every now and then, they'll be very happy to do that. Ooh. He's getting quite excited. No, hello Justine, thank you for all your questions this morning. You've said now, how long does a hippo normally stay at the dam? So it really just depends. These guys, I think, because it's not occupied, it's perfect residence for them. There's lots of grass in the nearby area. They don't have to travel far. And, well, there's plenty of water. It's not too deep, but it is deep enough that if they feel threatened, they can come to the middle of the dam and feel safe. And then, of course, there's lots of shallow spots. There's overhanging trees providing a bit of shade. So it's actually a perfect dam for them. It's really quite nice. So that, of course, depends on that. Is there water? Is the water running out in the dam? Then they'll move. Is the grazing surrounding that area become too sort of sparse that they have to travel exceptional distances at night? That might make them move as well. Other than that, they'll hang around. There's no need for them to move. You might even get a couple more hippos joining in to Buffelshoek Dam. It is exceptionally big at the moment. The pod could go around that corner. You could have a family here, one in that corner. I think you could quite easily fit 3 small family groups in this particular dam. There'd be a lot of conflict. So now, as you see the water, you can see how strange it is. And this is what I started mentioning to you, that the water is becoming quite putrid, is the fact from all the urine, all the dung, and all the other wonderful the oils and things and secretions that come off of the animals is really starting to have an effect here. And I also think it's a combination of an algae starting to form in the water. And, well, all of that, it almost looks like it's an oil slick, don't you think? Like a ship has spilt its oil. So, but that isn't the case, of course. There's no ships out here. And none in Buffelshoek Dam. I think that's what's happening. And I've told the story before, but I'll tell it to you again because there's a couple of new names that I haven't heard before popping up today. Is during the droughts, the terrible droughts that we had in the sort of northeastern corner of South Africa in the Greater Kruger area, as down at a place called Sabi Sabi at Earth Lodge is a massive dam below the lodge, probably about half the size of Buffelshoek Dam. And anyways, beautiful dam, always hippo. And as the water started running out and getting less and less, we started to see more and more hippo joining. Until one point, I don't even know how many we had. I think we had about 13 or 15. We had a whole lot of them. And this particular dam wasn't big enough to sustain that amount of hippos. Never mind the 3 or 4 different family groups of buffalo of a couple of hundred each coming down every single day to drink from the dam, and the elephants and all the other animals. You can imagine the water was disappearing quite quickly. As I just said to you, the hippos urinate and defecate in the water. Buffalo will do the same thing. Elephants, we've seen it happen on a number of occasions. And because we weren't having any fresh rain coming through and sort of reoxygenating the water became terrible. We started to see all the fish dying as the water was running out. We could just see them gasping for air at the edge of the dam. All the microorganisms, I can imagine, died. There wasn't any bird life around other than one 3-banded plover and a couple of pairs of fish eagles, which were, of course, benefiting from the fish dying because it was easy meal for them. They were all right at the edge, and they just swooped down and snatched them up. At one point, we just had fish carcasses everywhere. And this is, of course, a massive problem due to the drought. So what we had to do in the end was once the hippos had left the water at night, we had to go in and put a small electric fence. It's a very sort of that white tape that's electric. If you have horses, I know a lot of people use that around their paddocks. And very low voltage, but it was just to keep the hippos out, and it was a temporary fence. And we tried to habituate, rehabilitate that dam. It took a couple of months. We had to scoop out all the dead fish, because when the wind changed direction, we got the horrible stench of the dead fish coming into the lodge. So we had to scoop those out. We started pumping water into that dam just to try and get it going again. And then we introduced some more catfish and tilapia from the surrounding dams. And then eventually, once we had a bit of rain, it was all right and everything went back to normal. But it took a while. Now, Rakesh, you're wondering how deep the dam is. If you look at the hippos, they're not standing at the moment. Their back toes might be touching the ground. So it's quite interesting how a hippo sort of suspends itself in water. As if you think about it, if as we're standing up, if we had to put our bodies in proportion to a hippo, so let's say our arms are their front legs and our legs are their back legs, and if you were to sort of stand in the pool, that's sort of what's happening. You tilt your body forward slightly, and their back toes might be touching the ground. I don't think it's very deep anymore. At one point, I reckon it was well over 3 meters deep. Now, I think it's probably closer to about maybe 2 meters in the middle where they're standing. Other than that, it is drying up very, very quickly. And this is something that is going to be interesting to watch, because I don't think we've had enough rain to last us through the winter. I hope I'm wrong, though. But Tristan is, again, he's doing a sterling job. He's managed to relocate Shadow for about the 15th time.
Well, thank you, Taylor McCurdy. That's very kind of you. It feels like it's been a tough job following her, although she's not been too bad. She could have gone through a lot worse than what she did, so she wasn't too unkind to us. She's let us follow her a lot on the roads, which has been very nice. But I'm a little bit disappointed, if I must be honest, that she didn't go into that then site close to Red Dam and then head into and call it cub. I must be honest, if that had happened, I would have been so excited. So I'm a little disappointed that she didn't, but it has been so fantastic to follow her the whole morning. She's not a cat that we get to spend much time with, because she typically is quite elusive, particularly in these summer months. She's tough to be able to stay with, and she often moves in the most thick, dense bush possible. So it's really nice to have spent some time with her. Now, the reason why I'm going the hard way around now instead of the nice easy way is because there was a beautiful big spider there that had a nice web, and I didn't want to break its web, so I'm going the hard way through. So I do apologize if there are any bumps or branches in the way and that we don't see Shadow for 2 seconds. I know some of you may think, why would I care about an ugly spider? But spiders are awesome, so we've got to have spiders out here, and especially those golden orb webs. They're such incredible creatures and so pretty that it's really good to be able to just not damage their webs. And they've had a tough run of it. Through the dry periods, they've battled to sort of proliferate, and we've been seeing very few of them. So when you see a big, beautiful female like that, then it's always good just to let her stay and let her have a time to have her web and not influence anything. Now I'm going to try and see. I was hoping she was going to come to this big fallen over log. Wouldn't it have been incredible if she'd come here and up onto the log? Now she's not actually too far. She's right here. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to call that she's going to come towards our log. Now she might not jump on it, but I think she's going to scent mark on it. And at least if she does go on, we'll be in perfect position to see her go onto that log, which will be fantastic. Now let's see where she goes. She's just lurking in the grass there. She's just sitting watching in the grass, and look at how she disappears. Isn't that camouflage amazing? Now she's coming the right way. Let's see if we've called this right. I reckon that if she doesn't go on it, she's definitely going to scent mark on it. Come on, prove me right, Shadow. Or maybe not. Nope. She's decided she has other interests, and that is going around to the other fallen over stump maybe. So there is another big fallen over stump here that she might be heading to. I'm just going to try and see. No, not interested in the stumps today. Now, if she were a cheetah, we would have had perfect visuals of her on the stump, because the cheetahs love to go onto a stump. They're always up on these fallen over stumps. So I was hoping that Shadow was going to be obliging and do the same, but she's on far too much of a mission this morning to do that. So I think we'll just have to carry on following her and see where she ends up. Now we are moving towards Knobthorn Pan, so I wonder if she's not going to go and drink there. Now, talking of all these little things and spiders and how important it is to have these little things and to respect them, I believe Byron's got lots of little things to show you, so let's go across to him and see what he's going to give us.
Indeed. Now I've got into this little area which is quite interesting. There are a lot of little wild hibiscus flowers now, but have a look at what's feeding on the hibiscus at the moment. It looks like these blister beetles. I can see a lot of them around here. And we Oh, they are sitting down at the moment feeding on these hibiscus, which is interesting. I've never seen that before. But they are beautiful. They're beautiful yellow and black. But they do secrete a substance called cantharidin. It's a liquid which causes you to blister, and if they sit on your arm, you'll blister very, very quickly. It leaves a nasty blister. Often if you pop that blister, it spreads. The blister can spread. So you do have to be careful if these yellow and black bugs fall on you, or land on you rather. Often people then grab them, and then that's when they secrete this liquid. I think there's a spider hunting wasp. But they're very, very beautiful bugs. Aren't they amazing? And Tristan, I agree with you completely in taking care of the smaller things and being a lot more cautious when we are out in the bush, driving around, looking out for dung beetles or spider webs or whatever the case may be. I just saw that spider hunting wasp landed on the tree, but now it's flown off. Let's see if it lands again. Little blister beetle. See, my quarry tree has come in handy this morning. I've kept away a lot of bugs. Well, mainly the flies. It's mainly the flies. So we are starting to heading back to camp. We're probably about 10 minutes away. Still got a bit of a distance to walk. And we'll see what else we can find along the way. Maybe some more interesting little insects. Let's head over to Taylor, who's got one of my favorite antelope.
We do, Byron. We have got a beautiful big kudu bull. And I'm so happy. I'm actually a little bit sad to be going on holiday, just because we've only really been catching a couple of glimpses of some of these big kudu bulls, and I'm hoping he's going to walk out of the bushes. Yes, come boy, he is magnificent. His neck, he doesn't even have a chin. There's no differentiating between his neck and his body, his head and his body, sorry. It is so big. And look at those, look at his horns. He's actually coming closer towards us. Now, normally when we see kudu, you usually have to zoom in from quite a distance. They don't always seem to be so relaxed, and particularly the big bulls. But at this time of the year, when they're at their healthiest, after we've had the rains, and they're very much interested in mating with the girls, all the animals seem to be a lot more bold. We see it with the wildebeest as well. He runs right past us. The stallions do the same thing with the zebras. And it's just amazing. I suppose we see that with humans as well. When the girls are around, and I'm gonna roll back because I think he might come down to have a drink of water. When the girls are around, they really do put on a big act. Oh yes, good boy. Good boy. Look at this. Hello, gorgeous. He is too going to come down for a drink. He is massive. That's okay. Look. Look at him. He's got a bit of a spring in his step. Oh, no, he's going into the mud. Look at this. Covering himself in mud. Oh, this is so funny. I haven't seen this behavior in such a long time. Now, often you'll see big bulls horning trees, horning mud, covering themselves in all sorts of types of vegetation. Look at this. I don't know when I last saw a kudu doing this. It's been ages. Hey boy, are you having a great time? This is too special. I hope that you're all getting some good screenshots. Try and get some as he flings the mud into the air. Oh, that's lovely. I suppose that's the equivalent of getting his hair done. Hey, he's changing color. He's gone from a brunette. He's going to get darker hair now. It's not his hair, it's his horn. But look at him. He's putting all his strength in to cover himself. My favorite is actually when the eland do it, and they normally have bits of grass, and they almost look like they're wearing big heads of big wigs with leaves and grass and all sorts of other things. Impala are doing it lots at the moment. He's now got a couple of bits of grass. This is very cool. Come on, boy, continue. Everybody's loving the show that you're putting on. And isn't this what makes coming on safari worthwhile? Yes, we see kudu all the time, but we don't often get to see them doing this. Look at the size of his neck. It is huge. He is a beautiful specimen. He doesn't look particularly old. I think he's in the prime of his life now. So he's probably, I'm going to guess, and I would say somewhere between about 6 and 8 years old. His horns can still grow a little bit longer, but they're quite long as is. They're definitely about a meter, if not even a bit more already. Not quite as big as the horns we saw the other afternoon. We had that one bull down at Twin Dams, and he had a very wide splay of horns. He's a bit tighter, but he didn't put on a good show like this. Have a listen to the sounds that are being made as well as he sticks his head into the mud. No, lovey, now he's just going to have a drink. Oh, it's so funny. It sounds like his horns are getting stuck in the mud, sort of making that type of a noise. It was really quite funny. And the girls are watching him from the distance thinking, what on earth are you doing? Are you putting on a show for that car? I thought you liked us. They actually look a bit disappointed in him and have left him now. That's fine. Kudu, we enjoyed your show, and if I was a female kudu, I'd be very impressed with you, but unfortunately, I'm not into male kudus. So sorry, boy. Now he walks away. Now he's got to go and fix the bond again with the girls that he's been working with for probably a couple of days now. But what a spectacular show, and what a beautiful animal. They really are impressive, and if any of you have ever seen them leap over a fence, wow. Makes show jumping horses look like ninnies. Now, Rebecca, sorry, can I have that question again? I didn't get the whole thing. Now Pradeep, you're wondering if there's a difference between antelope and deer. There most certainly is. So in Africa, we have no deer. However, in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, fallow deer were introduced onto the farmlands. They used to hunt the fallow deer. So I would walk around sometimes and you could find the antlers that were shed from the fallow deer. Now the main difference is that antelope only have one set of horns for their entire life, whereas deer have antlers that are shed annually. So just as this boy has fattened up, he's got beautiful muscle, his horns are nice and long, he's decorated himself in mud, he put his head through some leaves hoping to pick up a couple of branches. Now, I forgot what I was going to say. Now, the deer don't necessarily do that because they grow those big horns to display and try and show off to the girls that way. But these boys have got their horns all day long. They've got to make them look a little bit more special and important. But wasn't that such a cool sighting? I don't know when I've had a kudu sighting like that last. That could probably... No, not probably. That is the best kudu sighting I've had for 2017. And I don't know how lucky we're going to be to try and do something like that again. Right. I've taken you away from Tristan now, but let's go back across to him to see if he's still hot on the heels of Shadow.
Unfortunately not. We left Shadow. There were some other vehicles that wanted to come see her, and given that we had spent so much time with her, unfortunately we've moved on. Now, we did have some magpie shrikes sitting on that tree, but they flew away. So that's the way that goes. It's all just leaving us at this stage, but we can't complain. Another fantastic morning out here. The giraffes were special, Shadow was really good, so it's been a fantastic day today. Again, it's been a good weekend, funnily enough. Now, you can hear the ever-present monotonous larks as well. I'm just trying to see where they are. So the ones on the road in front of me are not the larks, they are the pipits that we saw yesterday. And there's still some debate as to whether it's a plain-backed pipit or an African pipit. I'm not 100% sure. I've got photos of them, so I will try and check. I think plain-backed, but there are others that say African pipit. Both of them occur here, and they're both very similar. It's size more than anything else, and this is quite a large pipit, so... But there they go, off they've gone. Other than that, quiet on the bird front. Claire, you're wondering if we get any parrot species in this area? We do indeed. We get the brown-headed parrots, so we see them quite a bit. In fact, I can actually hear them calling, so I'm going to try turn off, and maybe we'll hear them again. There we go. I'll stop calling now. There it is. Sounds very parrot-like. There we go. Zoom, zoom. Alright, and so what we're looking at is that, well, what we're listening to, should I say. So here we look here, you can see why it's called a brown-headed parrot, is because of that very dark brown head, and then those green-coloured wings that we see there. So there it is. Now, they are quite pretty birds. Unfortunately, they're quite difficult to see sometimes. They like to sit in the canopy of a tree, and then they kind of fly out, and all you generally see of them is them kind of flying away. But that call that we were hearing, just in case you heard other calls and you weren't sure, so there we go. It's very parrot-like, isn't it? So that is the only one we get in this particular area, but we will also get other parrots in other parts of South Africa. So there's Cape parrots down in the Cape and the southern part of South Africa, and then right in the northern part of the Kruger, then we get a grey parrot or grey-headed parrot as well. So there is another parrot species in Kruger, but unfortunately we don't see it down here. And then if you just go outside of Kruger, still into the Transfrontier Park and into Zimbabwe, then you can get the Mayor's parrot, which is also quite a nice bird to see. But I shall keep a lookout and see if we can find them. Maybe I'll spot one on a tree here somewhere. The ones that are calling now are very far. They're in the marulas way down. So we're going to battle to find them. They're in the distance there. So that's not going to be very easy. But they are quite sort of common in this area. So I'll keep an ear out and a lookout. And hopefully I'll be able to find you guys some that we can show you in real life and not just on a phone. The monotonous larks seem to have found their voice again with this cooler weather, there's the overcast. Seems like they are still chirping away as well. Yesterday they were a bit quiet, and the day before actually they were a little bit on the quiet side, so it's nice that you can hear them again. I have a bet 10th of April, that's what I said, is when they're going to leave. So we are approaching that day, 8 days time. If we don't get rain, I reckon they'll be gone, maybe even a little bit before, but hopefully they will leave on the 10th of April and I will be proven right. I wonder, when Brent gets back this afternoon, we'll have to ask him and see what he thinks. Now, they are